What's going on, Eagles Nation? It's your boy Showtime 804 checking back in with you, back at it like we never left. Thank you all who subscribe, comment, like, tell your friends, tell a friend to tell a friend. We're going to keep this thing going on. So tomorrow we got a must-win game. And it's sad to say that a team that had Super Bowl aspirations that was looked at as a potential contender is at a must-win game in Week 11, playing sub 500 football. It just goes to the shortcomings of the team that we've done throughout the year. The inability to use the weapons that are on this team and to capitalize on what we do well. You know, taking the ball out of Miles Sanders' hand. We entrusted him to be a feature back, but we keep taking the ball out of his hands, eliminating him from having a career day. And this rests solely on the shoulders of Doug Peterson. And we grinded up Mike Groh for being an ineffective offensive coordinator, when in actuality it was Doug at the helm who kind of messed those things up. And it's just sad. That goes back to the I guess the ego and the arrogance that Doug showed during that 2018 offseason to lose Frank Reich and John DeFilippo, where you could have lost Frank Reich, but kept DeFilippo and just elevated him up into that offensive coordinator spot. And that's where the front office should have stepped in, because Doug had no previous head coaching experience outside of the 2016 season. Prior to that, he was the offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, and then he was the quarterback coach for the Eagles at the last stint of Andy Reid's time here. And it was just too much on his plate for him to jump into that full-fledged role where he's, he always called plays for us, but now to just alleviate the offensive coordinator position. And he was never looked at as a true offensive mind, not in the ways of the Sean McVays and the Kyle Shanahans, where they had a proven track record of being a successful offensive coordinator. Doug didn't have that same kind of reputation. He was pretty much, waiting in the wings of Andy Reid. Now, that's not to say that Doug isn't a good head coach. I think that he is a head coach, but his limitations, we've seen his ceiling as far as what he can bring. Now, and I can respect the fact that he likes to, let Jim Schwartz handle the defense on his own. But as the head coach, you oversee that. You're a representation of the whole product that goes on the field. And Doug has to step in and say, hey, you know what? Enough of this 7-8 yards off the ball when it's 3rd and 5. You're essentially either setting your team up to give up the first down on a quick pass route, or you're going to set them up for a double move, because they're looking at the sticks, and all it takes that post and go, and somebody's going straight up the field for a big game. Bringing in Jordan Howard, it was a good move. It was long overdue. I think they really should have tried to offer some kind of conditional pick for him, because Miami just wasn't using him, and you can tell that we needed a bigger back. We've been clamoring for Elijah Holyfield to get the nod to come into the game, and here it is, Week 11, and he's just seeing the field. He hasn't even seen the field. He's been elevated from the practice squad to the 53-man roster. But just having all these running backs now, it just doesn't bode well, because Doug hasn't been able to show us that he's going to commit to running the football. Couple of weeks in a row now, we've had guys on the verge of having career days, and Doug just takes the ball out of their hand, and we're just throwing the ball entirely too much. He's not taking into consideration the weather reports. If we're playing a game with high winds, we shouldn't be throwing the ball 40-plus times. It just doesn't make sense, and it looks like that's what's going to take place in the Cleveland game tomorrow, that they're anticipating high winds. Now, one thing about this game is that Myles Garrett is going to be out, and although that sounds like a silver lining, because we don't have to worry about the most effective pass rusher that they have, Doug, for this game, it just tells me that Doug is going to try to throw the ball more, because he feels like he has extra time. And that shouldn't be the case. If Cleveland is acceptable against the run, then we need to just run the ball. It's no crime if Carson doesn't, throw for 200 yards. We've seen games where he's thrown in the 180s, the 190s, and we were successful. And it's okay for that. The end result is the win. And it's like Doug is just trying to relive his glory days through Carson Wentz. And it's not what he is. Just like the comment that he made that he was going to, try to roll him out. Doug is too open to the media and he backtracks too much. So he definitely needs a crash course in talking to the media. Look at the Belichick's and the Greg Popovich's of the world. That's how Doug needs to come off. Just, it may sound brash, but just be as less revealing to the media because they're going to take some things and run with it. And it's just not what we need because, like I said, now Cleveland's going to be anticipating the quarterback rollout. So be on the lookout of some spy. There's some spy work that's going to happen. Somebody's going to try to quarterback spy him to keep him, from scrambling around, because he does have that functional mobility. He's not pretty much, say, a running quarterback like your Lamar Jacksons, your Kyler Murray's. But he's mobile enough to get out of the pocket and make things happen like your Russell Wilsons and your Aaron Rodgers. We saw a lot of regression from some of our other players. We were all hyped up on the Travis Fulgham train, and I think he still has the potential. It's just that the way they went about with the Alshon Jeffrey, he knew that if Alshon was going to play, he was going to take snaps away from him. And looking at the way this team is set, Zach Ertz is scheduled to come back. It almost looks like the offense was pretty much predicated around the 2 tight end set when we invested in so much in the wide receiver room, the wide receiver group this offseason with all the speed that we brought in. And, that's not to say that it won't be a bad thing. It may be a good thing. It's just got to stop pressing the issue and just do what we do well. Lean on the run so that way if Doug wants to go deep, lean on the run so that way the play action will actually have some effect because we're so predictable when it comes to our team. Second down, if it's second and short, they know we're running the ball. They know it's coming. It's too vanilla, too predictable. It's like Doug didn't get a chance to run a vanilla offense in preseason, so he's waiting for the regular season. Now we're seeing all of this simplicities of the offense. I think I can draw up some better plays than what Doug is showing. Have some kind of set where you have Miles Sanders and Boston Scott in the backfield at the same time. Make those linebackers on the defense, take a second step before they, react to the play. Lining Carson Wentz up wide. No, I would blind them both in the backfield. Do some kind of trickery, where you do a read option with Hurts to Jalen, from Wentz to Jalen Hurts. And then, Jalen Hurts can sprint out and throw a pass from that way. Just something that's more creative than lead option right or left because they know that's coming. We just can't. We need to win this game in the trenches tomorrow. We've got the highest paid defensive line in the league, and they need to act like it. A lot of people were down on Malik Jackson, but I actually think he's probably the best of the defensive tackles that we have. We pay Fletcher Cox the money, but he's getting double teamed after double team. And Malik Jackson is making him pay. Whereas Javon Hargrave, I think he's missed out on learning this system because he went from a 3-4 front to now he's a 4-3. And that takes time. He didn't have a full offseason. So a lot of the guys that we brought in that are new to the system or changing positions, they're not used to what we're bringing on. And yeah, it's week 11, but this just shows how underrated those offseason programs can be for some of those guys. The linebackers this week, they have to be very aggressive because Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, they're going to tote that rock. And we can't get gashed for this 200 yards that they possibly could bring to us. Them not having Odell is a plus because no other wide receiver really scares me. Jarvis Landry, he's reliable, he's dependable. But that comes to play where we need our slot corners to actually play football. We don't need no celebrating after overthrows and things like that, especially like what I saw from Nikel Roby-Coleman last week. We down to the Giants. We down 11 points, and he flexing and doing all of that for what? Like, we lost that game. You guys showboating. That's not what we need. We just need somebody to take a next step up on that defense and get things in order. Give the young guys a try. Like, we're going to need some sideline-to-sideline speed. So that's why I'm looking at Bradley and Davion Taylor. They're pretty much, we're redshirting them. And for what? We gained nothing out of that. You drafted these guys, so now it looks like wasted draft picks. Again, year after year, we have wasted draft picks. But like I said, it's just sad that we got to this point, sub 500 in a must-win game in Week 11, and other teams around the league they're laughing at us because of the way we handled ourselves against the Giants, and that shows why Doug Peterson is now 1-4 after a bye week, and that loss to the Giants kind of reminds me of last year's loss when we lost to the Dolphins. We just anticipated that we were just going to walk all over them, and we didn't. We let ourselves down, and that's coaching. That's guys are not mentally prepared or they're not put in place. And Doug's interview this week on WIP kind of made it bothered me a little bit because he was saying how frustrated he was and that the loss was on him. But the first point that he made was to pretty much blame the players, saying that we had 11 penalties. That takes all of the pressure off of him where he called a bad game and he doesn't, hang on to that. It was, I'm going to blame the players because the 11 penalties. It's just, it really looks like Doug is in over his head and the team isn't responding to them. Like, you brought in all of these offensive minds, the Marty Morningways, the Rich Scandrellos. You got Deuce Staley in there. So you have competent guys who've been around, who've seen things, whether they were on the field or from a coaching aspect, that they can tell Doug that, hey, stop throwing the ball. Somebody needs to get into his ear and tell him to run the football. But it looks like, Doug has surrounded himself with people who are less of a threat to his job. And he's got too many yes men. And I'll keep harboring back to that point that somebody in that offensive room should have started throwing chairs and slamming stuff down to let him know, hey, you can't keep killing this team like this because we're going into a tough stretch with the Seahawks and Green Bay, New Orleans, and Arizona, this final stretch. We have to split some of these games. Far be it for me to say, even win some of these, win more, 3-1. It'd be amazing to go 4-0 and pushing into the playoffs like this, but we just got to get it together. Like I said, there's actual reason why some of these guys who are on the practice squad, they're doing something that's not good. And like we've seen a report that they have bad practice habits. So if that's the case, then that shows why Elijah Holyfield hasn't been called up. There's something he's doing, and it's possibly pass protection. Now he played as a good 1-2 punch in Georgia with DeAndre Swift, but it's just something there that's just not gonna be what we anticipate this to be. But we just got to do some smart things. Like I said, run the football, and for the love of anything, we need to flip field position on special teams. Something that we get the ball, we have to get across midfield. We just starting further and further away, and then we're expecting Carson and the offense to march 80, 90 yards down the field and score a touchdown, whereas, other teams aren't getting that same treatment. They only have to go maybe 50 or 60 yards before, they're looking at the end zone. They're in field goal range. They just do different things, and we just got to fix some of this. And it's just hard to say because we've already exceeded our bye week. And looking for a detrimental change to happen this late in the year is probably not going to happen. But I am looking forward to seeing Rich Scandrello being the quarterback coach this week because I do think Press Taylor isn't suited for that position. If he needs to, he can go join his brother and be his brother's quarterback coach in Cincinnati. But we need somebody to, that's going to make Carson better because we're wasting his prime years. And that's a sad thing to say. He's trending towards how Andrew Luck's career is going, where he just got beat up so much. They didn't have the right pieces around him to be successful. But we just got to go ahead and take care of business, try to right this ship, get things close to 500 as possible because I don't have any confidence of the other teams around us, but I have even less confidence in this team right now. I'm always going to support the troops. I'm always going to support the Eagles, so that's not going to change. But just to right this ship so we can, get into the playoffs and try to make some noise. But until then, I'm going to get back with y'all. Bird Game Mafia, we out.